Welcome to the best division in football with your boys Awthentik and the Beard, the best television show not on TV. Big shout out to the gang. Sorry for the little 2 to 3 minute delay there. Tom Coughlin would not be proud of your boy today. We got to get right into it. We got 2 games to go over today. The New York Giants are on a bye in Week 11. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be taking on the Houston Texans on Monday night. But more importantly, I'm sure the Beard is definitely excited about this one. The Washington Commanders are traveling to Philadelphia to the Linc to take on those Philadelphia Eagles in a battle of the NFC East for Superior right now. This is going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to this. Told the Beard the reason why we were late, I would tell him on air. So without further ado, let's bring in the left side to the strong side duo. My brother from another mother, the best co-host in the country. Big shout out to my Dukes one time. The Beard is in the building. What's going on, my dog?
I'm ready. Listen, the inactive list came out. We're looking good. We're looking good. There's been a lot of chatter in the world today about, the Eagles and the Commanders. I was feeling a certain way, and now I'm feeling a different sort of way. So,
your moxie's a little bit up right now, ain't it?
Yeah. Big shout out to my guy Paulie. Paulie called into the radio station. So I was listening to the radio station on the computer all day. Paulie called in, and boy, he's hyped. He's hyped. It got me hyped. I thought I was gonna look over and see Paulie in a helmet and pads, and we were getting ready to go on the field.
I definitely feel you, man. Well, for today's show, damn near had to send in Cooper Rush because things were looking extremely grim for me on my side. Some unfortunate news today, bro. I got like 10 hard drives here in the studio, and like one of my main drives crashed on me today. So I spent like most of the day like being able to access the drive very minimally. Like it would like clunk out on me every time I was trying to transfer files. Let me crack open this Southside IPA right here.
I heard that one. That's
local brewery
effects.
too. That was a good one, right? But so when I went to go pull up the audio software in Luna to start the podcast, I had forgot that the main podcast file that I've had for like the entire season was on that broken hard drive. So quickly had to cook up, like just off memory, how I was bussing and sending out all this audio to get to the internet. So today the audio might be a little bit different. I tested it as much as I could with the Beard. But we're here nonetheless. This was a big game. There was no way that we could send out Marcus Mariota today. Your boy Jaden Daniels had to show up. But I'm excited to talk about these matchups today. You know, the Cowboys matchup, obviously. But I wanted to start the show off a little bit different with you. I want to talk about something.
This is all coming at me fast, ladies and gentlemen. So
and I knew you would be prepared for this. And I didn't want you to see what I was going to try to talk about here to open up the show. But I want to talk about the rosters within the NFC East. And you tell me, do you think that the Giants currently have the worst roster in the NFC East right now? Now, I had a couple conversations. Oh, you weren't even going to let me get off. He says, absolutely. All right, so I had a couple conversations with some people today. And the talk of the town today was that the New York Giants are a quarterback away. And I tweeted out something today that got a lot of feathers ruffled up in the New York Giants community that said, there's so many more holes on this roster for the New York Giants. How can we say they're a quarterback away? And most people literally were coming in, some with just one-word answers, Commanders. And I'm like, have you guys not been paying attention to what has been happening with the Washington Commanders this season and what happened in the offseason? How many different moves they have made from new head coach to OC to DC to defensive line to offensive line coach. Most importantly, a new owner, got the GM in the building, secondary revamped. And a lot of people are coming at me saying, well, if you take away the quarterbacks, that the New York Giants have a better roster currently than the Washington Commanders. I heard you say absolutely.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I'll be quick. The New York Giants fan base is the most delusional fan base in the world. Okay?
I'm glad you said it and not me.
Because listen, I have obviously am super entrenched in New York Giants, right? Because that's what we do here. And so for so many years, all you heard was, oh, we just got to get Daniel Jones the weapons, right?
Yep.
And now it's like, oh, but if we didn't have this quarterback, we would be a different team. But it makes sense. I don't understand how that works. But yes, Lucas, I love you, Lucas. I love you, Chris. I love all of you guys, But you guys know the guys I'm talking about. But yes, and I jumped into a few of those conversations on Twitter today too, and I was trying to explain to people because I am them. I was them.
Yep.
Like you could probably go back to sometime between the 2 seasons ago and last season. I was probably saying, oh, man, we just a quarterback away. We got Sam Howell now. We're good. No more Taylor Heineke. Like, look at this roster. Look at this roster. Look at the defensive line, right? It does not work that way. People are like, well, we have some cornerstone pieces, bruh. And we said it on the last show. Look at your roster compared. Take your best player and compare it to other teams' best players. You're so far away. You have to strip everything. And I know the Commanders are this anomaly, the Texans and the Lions, but if you look closely to what those teams did, it's so much more than just one move. It's a complete overhaul in almost all 3 of those cases. And even if you do a complete overhaul, there's no guarantee that it's going to work. You have to find the perfect combination. It starts up top. So let's say you don't gut the roster and it is just a quarterback. You're entrusting Joe Shane to pick the next quarterback, to be the missing piece. What happens if he picks the wrong quarterback? And now what? Now you're looking at another 5-10 years of just mediocrity at best. So, yes, they had the worst roster in the NFC East, and it's not even close.
Okay, I just wanted to double-check with the Commanders fan. I went over the Dallas Cowboys roster as well, too, and I looked at their roster, and I thought that they're definitely farther off than we are. Commanders, I just love the way you guys rehauled the linebacker core. You guys went from being one of the worst linebacker cores last year to this year being one of the better, I would say, if not maybe the best in the NFC East right now. So just need a little bit of confirmation because, today, your boy was, I had the lightsaber. I'm fighting them off, bro. I was fighting them all off. It was crazy. And I'm just like, am I tripping? Because now I got people bringing up, even my boy, Mr. Glass Half Full from New York Revival. He said, Awthentik, like me and you were the same. It's just that you just so happened to get off the quarterback a little bit earlier than I did. And I'm like, okay, so he pulled a receipt for me from entering 2021 when we had just signed Kenny Galladay. And he said, look, man, you thought that Daniel Jones was going to throw for 30 touchdowns at the beginning of 2021. And I'm just like, this is a head scratcher for me because 2021 to 2022, 2023, these guys were even making no DJ slander T-shirts and all kind of stuff. And I'm like, is that the way we're going to rewrite history right now? Is that the way we're going to do it when I've literally been up here talking about the quarterback position now for about 3 years, talking about how we should not have paid Daniel Jones after the 2022 season, which is just an interesting way. So I wanted to start off the show by just kind of bringing some attention to my New York Giants, but still keeping the theme NFC East, obviously. I'm glad you concur on a lot of that. And it looks like the chat kind of concurs too. I see Lucas saying we are a shit team. It's that simple. And I do think it is that simple. A quarterback would obviously help the New York Giants get into the right direction, but I think that there are a lot more holes to be filled. And I think that a lot of those people that are saying that are just kind of covering up for some of the deficiencies and mistakes that Joe Shane has already made thus far, thinking that maybe the quarterback is the only major one he made.
By a Giants fan today. I don't get blocked ever. Like I'm like the nice guy.
Dude. I got unblocked today by a Giants fan. Shout out C Webb, man. It's all about the trenches. My dog.
I got blocked by a Giants fan today because he was like, we would have beat the Commanders both times if we had a different quarterback. And my favorite reach GIF is the one where my man is sitting on a toilet. And
it's the best.
That's all I.
It's the only reach gift, to be honest. That's the only one that we should be using.
So I just put that, and then he was like, "I can't even have a conversation. This is childish." And as soon as I was getting ready to reply back, I couldn't reply. And I was like, "What's going on with Twitter?" And then I was like, "Oh, this is what it's like when you get blocked." And then I realized I was blocked.
The new block rules are amazing because now when I block you, you still have the luxury of seeing all of my tweets. I'm gonna enjoy that. And listen. Y'all thought I was blocking motherfuckers quick before. I'm going to be blocking people like nope. I got like 450 people on my block list. Do you know this?
I don't know if I have anybody blocked or not. I don't even know how to look at my block list.
You called me what, motherfucker? Block right there.
I'm on the Blue Sky now, though.
Somebody told me I need to get on Blue Sky. What am I missing out on?
So basically Blue Sky is an alternate universe of Twitter. It's made by former Twitter employees. And it's the same thing, and it's called Blue Sky. And it's like completely opposite of Twitter, and you can just get away from all the crazy Twitter stuff. So I set up my my account today. So I was pretty excited about that. Go Blue Sky.
I'll set up an account. I was on Threads for a little while, but I'll hop on the Blue Sky.
I mean, the way I look at it is, if we're they got like 15 million new users since the election. So I'm like, dude, I can get in here and I can get a leg up. You know what I'm saying? I can be one of the guys.
Was your username Tim Walk on Water 2, or did
No, it was not. I was like, I could actually. The username's a little interesting. We'll talk about it. I do want to give a big shout out before we get started to my guy over at No Flow Cards. My guy Pop is a Eagles fan. They do breaking, sports cards, and all that good stuff. I got to hang out with him at National. I sent him a link. I said, I'm going to need you to come into the chat and represent for your Birds. He's playing Switch with his son, but he still came by to say go Birds. So big shout out to my guy. Appreciate you, my man.
Big salute, big salute. All right, well, let's get off into these games, man. I know we got just about an hour today to cover 2 games, so it'll be a very paced show. I'm definitely looking forward to talking about these matchups. Let's start with the less of the 2 interesting matchups here, which is the Houston Texans are going to be traveling to Jerry World to take on the Dallas Cowboys. All right, Beard, I told you I want to be short and sweet on this game so we have enough time to talk about that Commanders matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Texans, sitting at 6-4 right now, they are traveling to Jerry World to take on the Dallas Cowboys, who fell to 3-6 last week. This is a Monday night primetime game. The Texans are favored by 7.5. I see you got the over-under there at 41.5. Definitely a high-scoring affair, if you ask me, considering what's going on with the quarterback position with the Dallas Cowboys. Last week, the Dallas Cowboys did lose to the Philadelphia Eagles, 34-6. The Texans took a tough loss to the Detroit Lions, 26-23. Now, last meeting between these 2 teams, the Cowboys did beat the Houston Texans, 27-23. That was in 2022. But this year, we got Cooper Rush, who was expected to get the start for the Cowboys. There really hasn't been a lot of talk about it, so I don't know if they've 100% ruled out Trey Lance. I don't know. I talked about it on the last show that I thought this would be a good opportunity to bring in Trey Lance and allow him to get some snaps and really see what you got in that trade with the San Francisco 49ers, but we'll see how that goes. Dalton Schultz, revenge game. A lot of people forgot, including myself, that he was a Dallas Cowboy from 2018 to 2022. His best year came in 2021 with the Dallas Cowboys as well. First time playing his former team. This should be a really good matchup for him. This is the Texans' first Monday Night Football game since 2019. C.J. Stroud is absolutely going to change that narrative. I thought the same thing. I was like, man, that's really, really crazy. But it's been a tough month for the Texans and for the Dallas Cowboys, for that matter. Houston is 1-3 after a 5-1 start on the year as well. The Cowboys are on a 4-game losing streak right now, and the Cowboys, they haven't lost more than 4 games in a row since 2015. So that's before Dak Prescott was drafted, where in 2015 they did lose 7 straight. Cowboys have not won a home game this year, bro. I don't understand how that is still a thing. They are 0-4 at home right now. They haven't started 0-5 at home since 1989. I want to say that was the year that Troy Aikman was drafted. No, that's incorrect. 89 was when Peyton Manning was drafted. I knew that was one of those pivotal years. 89, I believe that was Peyton Manning, or was it 99?
99.
Then 89 might be Troy. Because Troy didn't get off to that quick of a start. Somebody correct me in the chat on that. Somebody pivotal was drafted in 89, but that was the year that Jerry Jones did buy the Dallas Cowboys. So maybe it is Troy Aikman. I think that might be Troy Aikman. But they did win 16 straight home games before this all went to shits when they saw your boy in the playoffs against the Green Bay Packers. I was out there cooking bacon with them Dallas Cowboys, and now they haven't won a home game since. I do think for the Texans, it's very, very, very important that they get that running game going. And Joe Mixon is coming off a season worst this past week against the Detroit Lions, 1.8 yards per carry. But some of these other numbers,
crazy,
very, very surprising for me, for Joe Mixon. Just his second game with less than 100 yards rushing this entire season. The Cowboys have the second worst rush defense in the league. That's statistically, but with the eye test, I think they have the worst rush defense in the league. And Mixon has had a touchdown in all 5 of his games since returning from that ankle sprain. So this is going to be a tough matchup for the Cowboys. I really don't see any way that they're going to win this game. Their sole, playmaker on the offensive side of the ball in CeeDee Lamb, without Dak Prescott, I think it's going to be really tough. His first game without Dak Prescott, just 6 receptions, 21 yards. The Cowboys were averaging, and we laughed at this last week or last show, 1.5 yards per play, which is, I promise y'all, it's the lowest I've ever seen. in my entire life. I do think that defense did some things to keep them in the game last week, and I expect some of the same in this matchup against the Texans. But what are your thoughts on this matchup with the Dallas Cowboys taking on C.J. Stroud and the Texans?
I mean, it's a lot of the same. Dallas quarterback is the first thing I wrote down. I just kind of curious to see who's going to play quarterback for them. I also thought it was pretty funny, and I think you got a kick out of it too, where they said Rico Dowdle is going to be the lead back moving forward. Like,
yeah, that was wild.
Like,
who was the lead back before that?
Yeah. Like, no more sharing carries. I mean, I don't know. You're going to have to share carries with God to get that running game going, because it has just been awful. Houston's probably going to get Nico Collins back, I would imagine. Not 100% sure on that. I know, obviously the window got open last week. He was questionable going into the game last week, so he might play. They might ease him in because of the level of this game. You talked about Joe Mixon. I mean, it's been crazy. They're averaging 119.4 yards per game, which is 18th in the NFL. You'd think it'd be a little bit more. Dallas, you talked about that run defense, 152.1 yards per game allowed on the ground. The Joe Mixon numbers, I mean, it's crazy. You mentioned the 100 yards and the touchdowns. So he's got 8 games under his belt this year. 100 or more yards or a touchdown in 7 of those 8 games. 100 plus, like you said, in 6 of the 8 games total. So in one of the games where he didn't have 100 yards rushing, he still had 90 total offensive yards receiving and rushing. So he is a centerpiece of that offense right now, especially with the offensive line being banged up. C.J. Stroud's under a lot more pressure this year, and then obviously the injuries to the receiving corps throughout the season between Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins.
Yep.
Big shout out to John Mechie, though, caught his first touchdown of his career last week. I thought that was awesome. He's been
I forgot about the reason that he was held out in his first year. He was like dealing with some illness.
Leukemia.
I forgot all about that, man.
Yeah.
He's definitely been balling out. Had his best game last week.
Yeah, so he's kind of been a guy that kind of flies under the radar. They have a few of those guys on that roster. Robert Woods, a little bit of a veteran guy, but another younger guy like Xavier Hutchinson as well, with Mechie, that can kind of all chip in a little bit if need be. The one thing I was talking about with C.J. Stroud and that offensive line, they've allowed the 3rd most sacks in the NFL, 35 sacks this year. That has a lot to do with, I don't want to say regression because I feel like that's too strong of a word, but the not as crazy C.J. Stroud play as we saw last year has a lot to do with that.
Last year, he dealt with some offensive line issues as well. Don't forget about that. They had 6 offensive linemen on IR by week 7 last year. I'll never forget that. And he was figuring out ways, but now I think the teams have more tape on him. They're figuring out, and also the wide receivers, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, you lose Nico Collins. Is Nico Collins ruled out for this game on Monday night? Because I know he's back off IR.
Yeah, it hasn't been ruled in or out, but I know that he was trending towards playing last week, so I'm assuming that he's going to play this week. But we're kind of just waiting to hear. Obviously, probably won't know until sort of game time decision sort of situation, which is going to be brutal for fantasy owners, obviously. Dallas has allowed the 8th most sacks. Houston has the 7th most sacks. So I think that number is just going to go up for Dallas moving forward with not having Dak back there, because that's one of the good things that Dak does is he can get rid of the ball pretty fast, and that's going to hurt that offense. Houston has the 9th most red zone touchdowns. We talked about the red zone defense for the Dallas Cowboys. It is god-awful. The worst red zone defense in the National Football League. They are allowing their opponents to convert in the red zone 77.4% of the time.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, that's almost automatic right there. So the one thing that Dallas can do well, and this can keep you kind of in a game, is your 3rd down defense. If you can keep Houston Texans off the field and find a way to run the ball, you can maybe control the clock a little bit. They have the 11th best 3rd down defense in the league at 35.5%. And Houston's 3rd down offense is not great, 16th in the league at 38.6%. All that being said, I just don't see any way Dallas can compete in this game. Yeah. It's going to be tough for them to find ways to win. What's kind of concerning...
Is there a chance that it's a trap game? Is there a chance they hang around? Because C.J. Stroud in this offense has not really, been extremely potent as far as points per game the last couple of weeks, right? Yeah. I have C.J. Stroud as my fantasy quarterback, and he really hasn't had many big games in the last 4 games. I think it's 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions total in the last 4 games for C.J. Stroud. Do you think that there's a chance that the Cowboys possibly could hang around a la the New York Giants type of game and maybe be down by a score late and have a shot to maybe win it?
No. Houston's coming off of a loss. If it would be there's two factors that would have made me sway that answer a little bit. One, if Houston wasn't coming in off of a loss, they're 6-4. They need to win this game. Okay. Number two, I had this Cooper Rush. Remember last time when it went down, I was like, oh, season's over for the Cowboys. And then Cooper Rush comes in, goes 5-1. Yep. So then this time you're like, all right, maybe Cooper Rush can give him a spark, a little something, give him a couple of games before he comes back down to earth. My guy been in space since the first snap this year.
It was bad.
It was bad.
45 net passing yards. I mean, come on, dog.
You can't. It's tough, and it's not like you have a guy like a Joe Mixon where you can lean on with a backup quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like we're just now determining that Rico Dotto's the lead back. Apparently,
I don't even understand why. It was Schefter that reported that, and I'm just like, why
McCarthy
would you even?
Said it. McCarthy said it.
I understand he said it, but like at the same time, if you've been covering the Dallas Cowboys, like why would we even have to say that? Like he's been their lead back. He's been getting most of the carries for the majority of the season. That was very interesting to me.
Yeah, that's. Dead man walking, Mike McCarthy is. I don't see a way that they can even be competitive in this game. I think this game gets out of hand quick. I think Joe Mixon probably goes for like $150, $160 in this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Houston Texans 30, Dallas Cowboys 10.
I kind of like it. I do kind of like it. I do think that this is a good game for C.J. Stroud to get back on track. The Dallas Cowboys in their last 5 games have allowed at least 2 passing touchdowns to every quarterback that they've faced. So I could see C.J. Stroud definitely putting the ball in the end zone on Monday night. I'm going to go a little bit lower score for the Texans. I kind of like the 10 a little bit. I'm going to go 20. I'm going to go 24-13 in favor of the Houston Texans.
24-13.
All right, man. You got it in the books?
Got you in the books.
All right. I want to check on last week's scores, but I know we kind of up against the clock, so we'll do that another time. Let's get off into this next game. I know this is the one that everybody, at least, the Burgundy and Gold fam that is here today is very excited to talk about. I saw Ben Ball you in the chat. Big shout out to the gang one time.
I saw Matt McGinnis in the chat, too.
McGinnis is in the chat one time. What's up, dog? Show, What's good with y'all, man? I hope all is well with y'all. And big shout out to Scotty Booms, man. Today is Scotty Booms' birthday. I'm actually hit him up after this, maybe go try to have a couple more beers with him or something like that. But let's get off into talking about this matchup here. Commanders traveling up 95 just a little bit to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, man. Washington Commanders sitting at 7-3. Philadelphia Eagles sitting at 7-2. Eagles favored by 3.5. This game is tonight on Amazon Prime. Just like that fight tomorrow. Make sure y'all check out that fight between Mike Tyson and
I can't wait
Paul. That's going to be a good one.
Paul
I hope
to get his ass knocked
man,
out.
I mean, Mike Tyson is an old head, so this is going to be kind of tough.
But listen, Mike Tyson is going to do it for all of us.
I hope so, bro. When it comes to boxing, I don't take your analytics the same way as football. I must admit, all right? The over-under in this game is 49.5. This is going to be a great matchup. Last week, the Eagles beat the dust off the Dallas Cowboys 34-6. Commanders took a tough loss in a game where they really did control the middle portion of the game to the Pittsburgh Steelers 28-27. Last meeting, which it's interesting, it made me think about the matchups between the Washington Commanders, Washington football team, Washington Redskins, versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles did win the last matchup 38-31. That was at Washington in 2023. But Washington has found ways to play the Philadelphia Eagles extremely well for the past couple of seasons, even when Washington has been a bit of a struggling franchise. The Eagles are 9-5 against Washington all time in primetime games, which is very important. I do think that Jaden Daniels is going to be up for this test on primetime. He's not a guy that seems like the bright lights scare him that much at all. The Commanders did have a 3-game winning streak going into last week before they lost that game to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Eagles are on a 5-game winning streak right now, and since the bye, they've just been playing lights-out football. This is going to be a Zach Ertz revenge game. He's been a bit of a security blanket for Jaden Daniels, although the numbers don't, pop off the page. He's been really good this season. A lot of people were kind of blaming the loss on him last week, that a veteran of his caliber should know to get past the sticks. I thought the referees got the call wrong. It would have been nice to see that drive extended a little bit. The Eagles are expected to get Jordan Mailata, their left tackle, back in the lineup. He's off the IR this week. That should be very detrimental to not only the running game, but also protecting Jalen Hurts in this game. Washington is aiming for 8-3. It will be their first, or it will be their best through 11 games since 1996. So we're talking some serious history here. Washington has not won its first 3 division games in a season since 1991. Take that with a grain of salt. Their first 2 division wins came against our New York Football Giants, one of the worst teams in all of football right now. The Commanders are 3-2 on the road, and the Commanders have scored over 20 points in every game this season, except that game at home against the Chicago Bears a few weeks back, where they did end up getting the win on a Hail Mary. Now, the Commanders, man, they are a team that can definitely score points. That has been their thing. They're just under 30 points per game this year. They're 29 points per game. That's 3rd in the NFL, and they're averaging 377 yards per game. That's 4th in the NFL. Just 28 pass attempts per game, which is 27th in the NFL, but they're still managing to put up the passing yards necessary, which is 223.5, which is 11th in the NFL. I love seeing statistics like that, where your attempts are near the bottom of the league, talking about 27th, but your passing yards are in the top half of the league at 11th, which is really good. Philadelphia Eagles offense has been clicking, most of it largely in part due to the running game, but they have the 6th-ranked offense in the NFL right now. They're averaging 25.9 points per game. That's 7th in the NFL right now. Let's talk about some of these matchups, because I think that, and I do this a lot on the show, not the matchup that's going to be like Jalen Hurts versus the Commanders secondary. I think that's an obvious one where Jalen Hurts likely has the advantage there. But I like the matchups that feature 2 people on the same side of the ball. I'm looking at Jalen Hurts versus Jaden Daniels. That, to me, is going to be the number 1 matchup. We're talking about an ascending quarterback in Jaden Daniels who's doing everything right as a rookie right now. And we're talking about a guy in Jalen Hurts who has been tested throughout this season. He started off the year relatively slow with a bunch of turnovers in the first 3 games. He did have a couple of turnovers in his last game, an interception and a fumble. But nonetheless, he put up, I believe it was 4 touchdowns in that last game. Hurts has at least 1 touchdown pass, 1 rushing touchdown, and 100 or more quarterback rating in 4 straight games. He's the first quarterback in NFL history to do that. Hurts also has at least 10 rushing touchdowns in 4 consecutive seasons, man. That's another first in the NFL. No one has ever done that before. He is 4th in the NFL right now with 22 total touchdowns, 12 of them through the air, 10 on the ground. We know the tush-push kind of makes things a little bit, lopsided. But a touchdown is a touchdown. That's how I look at it, too. Now, Jaden Daniels, the last couple of games, his completion percentage has took a major dip. Daniels has completed 56.4 of his passes the past 3 games after, in his first 7, completing 75.6. So that number has taken a bit of a dip. Just 2 passing touchdowns at home this year, where the Commanders are 5-0, but good thing for them, this game is on the road. And Jaden Daniels has been spectacular on the road this season. His completion percentage is 76.9 on the road, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's got over 1,100 yards on the road. The sack numbers are just so drastic. He's been sacked just 7 times on the road. His passer rating at home is 86.7. It jumps all the way up to 116.2 when he plays on the road. And every one of his rushing touchdowns this year has been on the road. But his yards per carry drops 2 yards from 6.7 at home to 4.6 on the road, where he does have more carries. But I do expect Jaden Daniels to run the ball a lot more in this game to really sustain drives. We haven't really seen that in the last couple of weeks from him, where the big 3rd down, the critical 3rd down, Jaden Daniels is using his legs to be able to convert. And we have seen that from Jalen Hurts. Jaden Daniels.
It's been tough for me all day. I've been mixing up the spellings and everything all day. Don't worry.
It's definitely crazy. But in the Commanders' 3 losses, this stat made me really think about the New York Giants. And I hate to relate everything back to my team, but that's how we're going to do over here, right?
It's good to do that.
Jaden Daniels has played clean ball even when they lose games. In the 3 losses, he's got 0 turnovers. Yep. Both of his interceptions came in victories. So I think that that's something to keep your eye on. The other matchup I want to talk about real quickly is obviously the running backs. Saquon Barkley going up against Brian Robinson, and we're going to need a little bit of help from Austin Eckler. But Saquon Barkley's been going crazy here. I know Giants fans, y'all been deflecting. I put up some tweets the other day, and people are just like, oh, but we got Tyrone Tracy, Devin Single, blah, 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 whatever. All right, they not Saquon Barkley. Let's just call a spade, okay? Saquon Barkley is just 9 yards away from 1,000 yards. He's 2nd in rushing in the NFL right now. 5.8 yards per carry, 110 yards per game, 6 rushing touchdowns, 5 100-yard performances. His biggest game came against our damn joker asses in the New York Giants, where he had 176 yards. He was averaging 10.4 yards per carry, I expect similar type of productivity going up against the Washington Commanders, whose rush defense has been a bit of an Achilles heel for them. Saquon already has 1,000 scrimmage yards on the year, 2 receiving touchdowns. He was bottled up last week against the Dallas Cowboys, which was very interesting. He had just 60 yards, I believe it was, on 14 attempts. Commanders are 28th in the NFL versus the run, allowing 142.7 yards per carry. I think that Saquon is about to have a big game. In these 2 matchups that I've already described, I think that the Philadelphia Eagles have the advantage in both of these. That's not to throw too much shade at Brian Robinson. No. Commanders have won 6 of the 7 games that Brian Robinson has started in. The only loss came against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 1. Brian Robinson does have 2 100-yard performances on the year. He's averaging 4.6 yards per carry, and he has the same amount of rushing touchdowns as Saquon at 6. A big part of the Commanders' red zone success has to do with Brian Robinson. A big part of the Commanders' third down success as well has a big part to do with Brian Robinson Jr. He's breached just 17 rushing attempts just 1 time this season. I don't know if this is the game where he's going to get back to being the workhorse, so I do think we will need a little bit of help. And I say we because I'm kind of rooting for y'all in this game just a little bit. Somebody asked me on Twitter, hey, who you rooting for in this game? And publicly, I can't be saying I'm out here rooting for the Washington Commanders, but low-key, I am rooting for the Washington Commanders in this game. But we're not going to put it on Twitter so people can pull it back in a couple of years and try to clown me for it. But I do think Austin Ekeler has been a big role, not only in the rushing attack, not only in the passing game, but big time in special teams and the kick return. 326 rushing yards on the year. He hasn't had double-digit rushing attempts until Brian Robinson was knocked out for the past 2 weeks, where he had 13 for 44 against Pittsburgh. He had 11 for 42 in the second matchup against the New York Giants. I think you guys are going to need a big spark from him, especially in the special teams department, to keep the field position in y'all favor. What's your thoughts on this matchup? If you want to throw in some thoughts on those two matchups between those 2 players, let me know what you're thinking on this one before we get to the roadmap.
I think the world needs Jaden versus Jalen, right? Like it's something like, honestly, on Thursday night, historically these Thursday night games have been really bad. You know, we've had a couple of really good ones this year, fortunately, but I just think that, you know, like the Eagles are just clicking on so many cylinders, and they have so many weapons, and they can beat you so many ways. And I think what's interesting is to combine those 2 matchups that you're talking about. With Brian Robinson, not only does it help like on third downs and in the red zone, it helps Jaden Daniels running. Having
Absolutely.
Brian Robinson back there changes the whole, you know, everything, all that.
Like a little bit of that.
You can do a little bit of that with Austin Ekeler, but it's a lot more effective when you have Brian Robinson in the game. So I really think that that's going to be huge for us. I was talking about the actives and inactives. All of our offensive linemen are healthy as an active. They might be hurt, but they're not injured because they are playing. So that's going to be big news for us. I just think that this is going to. You talked about Jaden Daniels and the prime time and the big stage and all that. I mean, he's played at LSU. I mean, he's played at some of the biggest stadiums in the world and some of the biggest crowds in the world. The crowds that he's probably played in front of are bigger than the crowds that you'll see at an NFL game. There's 80,000, 100,000 at some of those college games. So it's going to be interesting to see which one. I mean, I think it really comes down to those 2 matchups. Who can run the ball better and who's going to make the bigger play at the quarterback position. That's just a fact. I think that there's so many things like the wide receivers for Philadelphia are probably going to eat. Let's just be perfectly honest, right? We can't. I'm not. I saw so much of this on Twitter today too, like Commanders fans downplaying Jalen Hurts, and I'm just like, what? I can't do that. That's not what I am. I am a football guy. I can't sit here and say, Jalen Hurts is nothing. You know, like the dude's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I've been talking about Jalen Hurts since the day he got drafted.
Top half, I'll give him that. Yep, he's a solid quarterback.
You know, and then the Eagles fans are just like, oh my God, like they're like, he only has 9 passing touchdowns, and like he's not even doing anything crazy. Why is everybody always talking about him? Both these guys are really good at their position. Both these teams are really good for a reason, you know, and a lot of it has to do with the play of both of the quarterbacks. So
I like that shade that they threw at you and your Commanders fan base a little bit, though, because I do feel like that when you're a rookie and you play a certain way, across the league, it does get a little bit a little bit over elevated, just a little bit, because at the end of the day, he does have 9 passing touchdowns. But I think what's been very impressive about Jaden Daniels is the way that he doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah, and it's been huge for us. So turnover differential, Washington is +6. Philadelphia had been really bad until, things kind of changed a little bit during that 5-game winning streak where their defense has been playing fantastic and, their offense, they haven't been turning the ball over. They're now gotten back into the positive. They're +1. So that turnover battle is going to be very important in both, and it's more important, too, for Washington.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, bro. You're literally reading my mind because the Eagles can turn the ball over once or twice and still be able to win this game.
Washington can't do that, and that's what I said on Tuesday. I said Washington is a good team that can't beat really good teams without being perfect.
Yeah.
And that's what this is why this game is so important. And with both of the losses that the Eagles had this year, in both of those losses, not only did they have turnovers, but the Bucs and the Falcons, neither one of them turned the ball over in both of those games that the Eagles lost. So that's what's really important for Washington. They can't turn the ball over. Now, we've talked about a little bit Philadelphia's inability to score early in games. And I think that that's something that we're going to really have to keep an eye on here because Washington has been absolutely insane. In the first quarter of every game this season, Washington has outscored their opponents 57-36 in the first quarter.
Ooh.
And in the second quarter, 105-53.
Yeah, y'all are definitely eating in the first
so
half.
That's
and the Eagles just went their first quarter scoring a point last week. They went all through their first 8 games without scoring any points in the first quarter.
So that's 162-89 in the first half of games this year.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, too, has the best QBR passer rating of any quarterback in the NFL the last 2 minutes of the first half and the last 2 minutes of the game. There's no quarterback better than Jaden Daniels in those 2 minutes of the first half or the second half. So if the game's on the line, he's going to have to live up to those sort of numbers, And so both of these teams are 2-1 against common opponents. The Eagles and Commanders both beat the Browns, both beat the Bengals. And then we both lost to Tampa Bay. So we have the same record.
You guys played. Both of y'all kind of got blown out because I remember the Eagles. They
got blown out. We only lost, I think, by 1 score, but it was a little bit. It was a little further. It wasn't as close
as the scoreboard indicated.
Exactly,
I got you.
But they also blew out the Bengals, and we were a little bit closer to the Bengals. But they struggled with the Browns, and we blew the Browns out.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of interesting sort of situation there. And this is 2 teams that have really good records, but they haven't really played anybody. The Philadelphia Eagles have the second easiest schedule based upon winning percentage of their opponents in the NFL this year. Their opponents' winning percentage is only 38%. Washington is tied for 5th. Our winning percentage of our opponents is 44%. So this is probably, the Eagles played the Packers first week of the season.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be an interesting matchup because I think that for Washington, the Philadelphia Eagles are probably going to be the best defense that we've played so far.
Pittsburgh, I would say. I saw somebody ask it in the chat, and I think Pittsburgh's probably number 1, but this is a defense that's right up there.
Because they're rolling. But this is the thing is that, they haven't really played that many teams. And that's kind of like I was looking at some of these numbers. Washington's defensive statistics are kind of inflated because I feel like I say it every week. Our defense is not good, but the defensive rankings aren't that bad.
Aren't bad at all.
But, I mean, a lot of that has to do with who we've played. Now, you talked about rushing. This is 2 of the top 5 rushing teams in the league. You talked about Philly being number 2. Washington's number 4. There's a bit of a gap there in the yardage. The big difference is the rushing defense. Now, Philadelphia has the 5th best rushing defense in the league. Washington has the 5th worst. So you're going to have to find a way to combat that. That's going to be super important. And you talked about the passing, too, about Washington, being number 11, 223.5 per game. Philadelphia has the 3rd best passing defense in the league. They're only allowing opponents to pass the ball 173.4 yards a game. But Washington's pass defense, surprisingly not bad. They're 5th best according to yardage.
And you know what I think about the defense that, like, why you are still slow to come around on the defense right now? it's what I was telling you about with the Giants, right? Like when the Giants start to get good, I'm not going to be one of those people that is around the corner first, like, oh, we got a team, right? Because we've been conditioned a certain way for so long, right? But when you look at Washington and you look at the defensive players that you guys acquired in the offseason that are making impact plays, like week in and week out, the Jeremy Chins, Dante Fowlers, Dorrance Armstrongs, Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner, like those, right? That's a core of 4 to 5 guys that should be able to revamp the defense. And I think, like, I'm not saying like I'm around the corner on the Washington defense, but I think they're better than a lot of people think they are.
And I mean, Fowler's 3rd in the league in sacks.
He's balling. 8.5, I think, right?
Is that? Yeah, 8.5, 3rd in the league in sacks. Like that's kind of crazy to think about, you know. And there's some other numbers here that I think you're gonna really like this one, right? Because you know we're trying to talk about like attempts, like being low in attempts but high and something like that. So listen to this. We talked about Washington's inability in the red zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their 16th red zone percentage in the NFL at 54.5.
54. Okay, I thought it was around 50. Up.
But they have the 4th most red zone touchdowns in the NFL.
I wonder where the attempts lie.
The attempts have to be extremely high. We have 24 touchdowns in the red zone. That's the 4th most in the NFL. So that's kind of like a little bit telling right there too. And I mean, there's the Eagles though, red zone defense. My God, they're good.
Wow, these numbers, is this right? Okay, so Washington is 8th in red zone attempts. Oh no, that's opponents. Let me run that back. Go ahead though. I'm going to find that number.
Eagles have only allowed 11 touchdowns in the red zone all year long. That's the 3rd fewest in the NFL.
Yeah, and I did just take a little gander at the Eagles' schedule, and somebody said it last week to us in the chat. They were like, how come you guys always talk about how easy – this was aimed at me for sure – about how easy the Commanders' schedule has been and how they haven't played nobody, but you haven't said that about the Eagles. And when you look at the Eagles' wins, man, it's against a bunch of bad teams. I mean, Browns, Bengals, it's Cowboys,
it's basically
Giants.
Us.
It's basically y'all without the Chicago Bears. Like, they really don't have a significant win all year against a really good team. So as much as I thought that this was going to be a test for the Philadelphia Eagles, this will absolutely be, a test for the Commanders. This is probably as equally as dangerous of a test for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Washington, number 1 in the league, bro. Almost 4.5 red zone attempts per game. Buffalo, Baltimore, San Fran, Detroit, Kansas City, and then Philadelphia behind them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just to hear that our name in with all of those other teams is just weird, right? Because you basically just named playoff teams.
Basically.
Let's just go ahead and say what it is.
Basically.
The third down is going to get a little funky here, too. Washington has been dropping a little bit the last couple of games in their third down efficiency. They were so good, early on. They're still 5th best in the league at 44.7, but Philadelphia's got a good third down defense, 13th in the league, 35.8%. Now, Philadelphia's third down offense is not great. Middle of the pack, 39.2%. But Washington's third down defense, that's the one part that they need to really shore up. They're 10th worst in the league right now, 42.1% on third downs. Now, a couple of random numbers I thought were kind of interesting. Philadelphia offense, they have the 3rd highest sack percentage in the NFL. So they're getting sacked on 10.2% of their dropbacks. So this is an opportunity. This can't be a game where Washington disappears on the pressure, because you've seen that sometimes throughout this season where there's games where you're like, man, they're getting at it, right? And then there's games where it's like no pressure at all.
Extremely quiet, yeah.
You cannot have that happen especially against Jalen Hurts, because if you don't get in the backfield, he is going to unload those deep balls, because our corners are not going to be able to contain A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith for 3, 4, 5 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have to find a way to get to the quarterback. Another interesting one here is both these teams.
I can't go without acknowledging a bit of a pause there. He's going to unload those deep balls. That's a good one.
That is a good one. That's very Joe Buck, Troy Aikman right there.
We was playing Xbox yesterday, me, Swan, and PJ, and I said something crazy, and they didn't catch it. It was so crazy. 10 minutes later, I had to be like, "Yo, how did y'all let that pause ride like that, bro?" That's crazy.
It can just kind of come out when you're talking about
football, especially.
Oh my gosh. Listen, both these teams want to control the clock. There's no doubt about that. Washington is the number 2 in the NFL time per drive. at 3 minutes and 10 seconds per drive. They're averaging. Philadelphia Eagles are number 5, 2 minutes and 59 seconds per drive. So both these teams want to control the clock. Now, this is what's really interesting. The one thing about Washington, those red zone trips, everything about the offense, I keep saying this, they are so far ahead of every other team in scoring percentage. It's crazy. They are still the number 1 team in scoring percentage. They are scoring on 58.3% of their drives. Philadelphia.
Is that higher than it was?
No, it can't be. Maybe.
I thought it was in the 40s when you were talking about it last week, but damn, 50, because the number didn't impress me last week. Remember, I was kind of like, but 58, god damn, that's pretty good.
And Philadelphia is only 40.8, number 12 in the league. But one thing about Philadelphia, which this is probably one of the more, it's not crazy, but it surprised me the most. Philadelphia is the least penalized team in the NFL.
That is surprising.
Pretty surprising, right?
Getting their shit together over there. Okay.
That one kind of threw me for a loop because I was like, all right, the Philadelphia Eagles, they'll end up finding a way to hurt themselves. But no, they're really good at being disciplined. I talked about the getting to the quarterback. Washington has the 8th best hurry percentage in the NFL at 9.5. Washington also has the 6th highest sack percentage. So our defense is sacking opponents 9.1% of the dropbacks. You pair that with Philadelphia and theirs, there's going to be an opportunity here to get to Jalen Hurts, and that's going to be important because the last thing you want to do is let the Eagles get to 3 and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, because they are going to kill us on that, converting those all day long. You got to try and keep those third downs
or not
as long
even
as
get
possible.
to that. You have a high success on 1st and 2nd down and not even be able to get to 3rd down. Philadelphia struggled last week on 3rd down. They were like 4-14, 5-14, something like that. So they're a team that has that ability to be able to not play well on 3rd down, but then make you pay on those 1st and 2nd down type of opportunities.
So do you want to do roadmap now, or do you have
I want to talk about one more matchup real quickly, and then we'll go to the roadmap because we can't go that whole segment without talking about A.J. Brown versus Terry McLaurin. That's another matchup that I've definitely got my eyes on. The Eagles have not lost a game with A.J. Brown in the lineup this year. So that means a ton to that team. Terry McLaurin is going for his 20th 100-yard game of his career tonight. A.J. Brown already has 26 100-yard games. I forget what year A.J. Brown, I think he was the year after Terry McLaurin. Was he 2020?
I think he's a year
Was he
before.
2018?
No,
Might have been.
Yeah, he might be 2 years.
Or was he the same year?
He might be 2 years. Are they the same year? No way. A.J. Brown,
I'm trying to think.
Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf. Was that all the same year?
I feel like A.J. Brown wasn't the same year. I'm going to look it up right now.
Because I know DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin were drafted the same. I think they were all drafted the same
They're
year.
all 2019.
Yeah.
Shout out to Darius Slayton one time. They're all 2019. So that goes to show you that A.J. Brown's been playing at a higher level, but quarterback play has definitely been a thing that has slowed down Terry McLaurin's career, obviously, and now he's got a guy over there. They've been definitely getting to it. A.J. Brown only has 3 touchdowns on the year. And I don't know if that's tush-push is getting in the way, getting close to the goal line or whatnot, but all 6 of Terry McLaurin's touchdowns have came on the road, so that yields extremely well for the Washington Commanders tonight. So I think this offense is going to come out high-powered, man.
A.J. Brown anytime touchdown in a couple of parlays, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, you did tonight, huh? You never know. Yeah, you should have went with that Terry McLaurin anytime touchdown.
I did that too.
You did? Yeah. Okay. You smart man. You covering all angles of trying to get the money. But I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup. I do think that one of 2 things has to happen for the Philadelphia Eagles. You either need a huge game from A.J. Brown or you need a huge game from Saquon Barkley. I don't think that you can rely on Jalen Hurts going out there and neither of those guys having a big game and putting it all on Jalen Hurts' shoulders to try to beat this Commanders team that when they went up against one of the better defenses that they've played this year, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they scored 27 points. So I'm expecting this to be a high-scoring game. I do think that the Commanders, even though the Eagles' defense is good, I think the Commanders are going to put up a lot of points. But let's get off into this roadmap, man. You ready for it?
Yeah, buckle up. It's going to be a little bumpy.
Did we raise the bar or did we lower the bar after last week?
I don't know. The bar is like this. You know?
You was on the bench press like, help me. Had one hand down. All right, let's get right off into it, man. Let's see what the beard is talking about on this roadmap here for Week 11.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
That beat drop was just right there. God damn.
This is the joke I heard in my head when I heard Paulie talking on the radio. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Both losses for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Saquon Barkley had under 100 yards rushing. Commanders hold Saquon Barkley under 100 yards rushing. I talked about the turnovers. You're going to need to get through this game without any turnovers for the Washington Commanders. Listen, we're going to need to score some points. How many points? 30 points.
30.
Washington Commanders need to score 30 points tonight.
30 points tonight.
30 points tonight. And we're going to need to jump out early. At some point in this game, the Commanders are going to have a 2-possession lead in order to win this game. Next, you are going to have to control the clock by 10 or more minutes.
Oh, you asking for a whole lot now. You asking for a whole
10
lot.
or more minutes in time of possession.
All right.
You're going to have to limit the big plays. Last week, we talked about all the big plays that the Pittsburgh Steelers had over 20 yards. We're going to have to limit the big plays. More touchdowns than field goals.
Again, all right, I like that.
Run the damn ball 160 yards rushing. And you have to convert on 75% of the third downs. And you have to win defensively 75% of the third downs.
You asking for way too much right now.
I said they had to play perfect. If you can do all that, the Washington Commanders will walk away with the victory by the final score of
34.
31-30.
Ooh, you talking about a close one. You talking about a close one. I was going to have you hold off on the score, but okay, so 31-30.
That's why I said it like that, because I was like, he's either going to tell me to wait or he's going to tell me to go. You didn't tell me to wait, so I
running
went.
up the sideline like Brian Dable, like, bro.
Headphones flying out the
earlobes. Right? Glasses right here. Glasses right here.
He's been doing that lately. Like this.
I didn't realize how much you look like Brian Dable until you did that.
Flea flicker. Red left, X zebra, Y banana.
Red left. I love it. I love it. All right, man. So I had a couple other little questions I wanted to throw at you before I give you my score. Okay. Since we're solely just focusing on this game, let's see where we at with it. All right. Good old Commanders. We talked about the worst roster. Let's start right here, Beard. Who scored the first touchdown for either team in the Commanders game tonight? Chat, what y'all thinking? Chat, what y'all thinking?
First touchdown scorer of the game.
First touchdown scorer of the game.
You tell me first, because I'm gonna look at the odds really fast.
I'm gonna go.
Because it's always difficult for me. I think whoever gets the ball first is gonna score. I feel like.
Really? I mean, if it's the Philadelphia Eagles, we know they haven't scored a lot in the first quarter.
Yeah, but the Commanders' defense starts off slow in every game.
Good point. Good point. I'm gonna go with Max Webster said either B-Rob or Saquon. I'm going Saquon or Jalen Hurts, but I'm gonna go Saquon.
Okay, let's see.
Kenneth Perkins says it's gonna be Saquon. Ben Ayers got jokes right now. He said Jahan Dotson. I hope Jahan did. I forgot to mention this a revenge game for Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
I'm about to go crazy on y'all. Timothy Swindle. I like that.
Who do you think's a favorite to score first touchdown of the game?
Jalen Hurts.
No, he's second.
Saquon?
Yep.
Okay, makes sense.
I'm gonna go Brian Robinson Jr. I think Commanders get the ball first. They go on a nice little 80-yard drive, capped off by a Brian Robinson touchdown.
Okay. You going B-Rob, I'm going Saquon. We did this earlier in the season on Bleacher Report when we played the who was it that we played? The Bengals. And Chad Johnson came on and he picked Joe Mixon and he got it right. I said Devin Singletary. That was not right. So you going with B-Rob, I'm going with Saquon. All right. And lastly, before we get off into this as well, last one here.
Mm.
Will the winner of the Thursday night football matchup ultimately go on to win the division? Yeah.
If it's the Washington Commanders, yes.
Really? If it's the Eagles, no.
The Philadelphia Eagles still have to play the Ravens and the Steelers.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the Steelers matchup? You think they can win that game, or you think Steelers?
I think the Eagles can win both of those games, but I having those two games and Washington and Washington one more game. When Washington has Saints, Titans, the Cowboys twice. Who else do we have? That's got to be. I mean, I don't think we play anybody else the rest of the year.
Y'all do have the easier schedule.
Because do we play the Falcons? Do we have to play the Falcons? No. That's you guys.
Yeah, we play the Falcons for sure. I'm going to pull up y'all's schedule right now. I was just looking at the Eagles. So you guys got Eagles tonight, Cowboys the following week, the Titans, the Saints. Goddamn, that's 2 wins. The Eagles again, the Falcons, and the Cowboys again.
So we have if we win, we have an easier path to win the division tonight. Because I think the Eagles, I think if the Eagles win, then the Commanders still have a shot because the Eagles have the Ravens. They have the Steelers.
They still got the Rams. They have
and
so
us.
It goes Rams, Ravens, Panthers, which is a win. Steelers, you guys again, Cowboys, Giants again. So look, I think it's about the same, to be honest. I looked at y'all's schedule. Y'all got 2 games that I could consider automatic W's for you guys. The Titans game and the Saints game. Those are automatic W's.
Saints playing better lately.
Yeah, but they still stink. And I'm not saying y'all can't lose, but I just look at those as victories. When you look at the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Panthers should all be wins. Tough games against the Rams, Ravens, and the Steelers. Yeah, those are their tough games. So there you go. You got all the data. What do you think? If Eagles win tonight, they're not going to win the division?
No. Because I picked the Eagles to win a division in the beginning of the year, but then last time when you asked me, you said, who's going to win a division? I said the Commanders. I can't go back and forth and back and forth. I'm going to go. I picked the Commanders to win tonight. So, yes, it all works out. Commanders win tonight. They win a division.
I like it.
On to the Super Bowl.
I like it. I do think the winner of this game wins the division. I like your confidence, and you could have said the winner of this game does win the division and just double down on Commanders are going to win. I like that. This game. I was hoping that you would convince me, like, in a major way that would leave me without any doubt that you guys would win this game.
I was going to pick the Eagles to win this game when I woke up this morning. And then I saw my timeline, and it felt like Cincinnati. It felt like Chicago all over again. And I said, I'm going to pick the Commanders. I was dead set on picking the Eagles all week long.
Yeah. Was this game flexed into Thursday night, or was this an original Thursday night matchup?
Original Thursday night one. And then obviously having Brian Robinson back and having all the healthy offensive linemen. You know, if we would have had Marshawn Lattimore, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, but great about that.
But it's more of the long game with him, so I'm not really upset about it. But let's not get it twisted. This game can go south fast. I'm not sitting up here thinking like
either team. We've seen both of these teams. I feel like for the team that has a bad game, it's more likely that it could be the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, we've seen them struggle in a bunch of games this year, whereas Washington has been a steady, keep afloat type of team. They play the same way just about every week. You haven't seen any games where Jaden Daniels completely has unraveled. We have seen that from Jalen Hurts.
Big shout out to our guy McGinnis, the king of the OC. That's Ocean City, Maryland, not OC, California.
Right.
Twisted. With a $9.99 super chat, says it was a first down last week. Short week. We want some revenge. I bought official Commanders gear for the first time in 10 years. We got this. Bad love from Denver. We appreciate you, McGinnis.
I like it. That's my dog. Yo, let me know when you back on the East Coast, bro. We had some legendary party nights. Legendary party nights with my dog, McGinnis, man.
Oh, man.
Appreciate you supporting the channel too, my dog. And then A fantasy question from Clibberson Joseph. A possibly limited Robinson or Alexander Madison this week. What you thinking, Beard?
Do you want to talk about stink? The Raiders stink.
Yeah, they do.
I know Madison's kind of put up some numbers fantasy-wise, not too bad lately. Zamir White sniped a touchdown from him last week. I think a limited Robinson is better than Madison in the Raiders offense. I feel like this is the thing is I don't think Robinson is limited. I think he would have been limited last week.
Yeah.
But I think he's ready to rock and roll tonight.
I like that. And I'm going to double down on a fantasy question here that PJ was talking to me about in our group chat here. Brian Robinson, Josh Downs, Tank Dell, or Calvin Ridley this week?
They're going back to Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, which hurts their wide receivers likely. Completion percentage under 50% on the year.
Yeah. I mean, Ridley has been putting up some numbers lately, but they're going up against the Vikings. I don't like that matchup.
Brian Flores, baby.
Yeah. So Brian Robinson, Tank Dell.
I like Tank Dell too. That's what I told him. I said Tank Dell.
Have a game against the
Cowboys. Yeah. Okay. So Tank Dell or B Rob. I just want to make sure I wasn't steering him in the wrong direction. And then when it comes to Robinson or Alexander Madison, we're going Robinson. Yeah. All right, Beard. I'm running out of time here. Kickoff is in 10 minutes. I got to pick a winner. The safe play would be to pick Washington, right? So that if they win, I'm safe. I don't lose no games to you. We both picked Dallas Cowboys to lose. Scared money don't make no money. I'm going with who I thought was the division winner at the beginning of the season. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's a very similar matchup. Not that close. Not that close. Not that close. But I think it's going to be a similar matchup to the Pittsburgh Steelers game. Yeah. Where both of these teams are going to be trying to, gain that lead throughout the entire game. It'll be a back and forth type of contest. I'm going to go Philadelphia. Let's go 28-24 in favor of the Eagles.
That's very close to what my my score was going to be if I was picking Philadelphia.
If you were picking them, yeah.
Yeah,
because I do think that this defense is going to be tough.
They just lit up my timeline, and I had no choice. I said, I feel like I felt Cincinnati game. I feel like how I felt Chicago game. When the other people, it's funny. You could tell when people don't watch all the other games, and they only watch.
I talked about that today. A lot of people didn't like that. How you just gonna assume we're not watching the games? Why you in my mentions bitching about it then if I wasn't talking to you? Right? You know what I'm saying? All right, man. So we'll get y'all up out of here, man. We got about a good just under 10 minutes before kickoff. I'm definitely looking forward to this. Make sure y'all flip back and forth to your Amazon Prime vision. That's definitely a vibe if you like the all 22 type of looks and be able to see down the field and whatnot. I like to mix it up with the regular broadcast to hear what the announcers are saying as well. But it's going to be a good matchup. I'm actually looking very forward to the New York Giants being on a bye and enjoying my Thursday night all the way through Monday night without seeing the New York Giants play any ball. I see Michael Knight has one quick question. He says, yo, Awthentik, quick question. Who do you want the Giants to draft, Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward? I'm all about Cam Ward, but I would not care if it was Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is, I think, a little bit more pro-ready than Cam Ward is, but I think Cam Ward has the higher ceiling. Either way, it would be very just it would reignite this fan base and reignite our interest in the New York Giants with either one of these quarterbacks. I could even throw Jalen Milroe in that mix as well, too. The Giants just need to address quarterback and get headed in the right direction.
So basically,
it's a good question for Michael
Knight.
Yeah, just don't get Daniel Jones 2.0. That will hurt us. King of the OC says, somebody clip up the highlights from Awthentik bigging up Washington. Hey, ain't no thing, man. I'm rooting for you. You know, bro. You know how it is, bro. I don't never throw no shade towards Washington. Yeah, I really don't throw no shade towards any of the other NFC East teams, man. I'm more worried about my team. My team has not been good, and that really has nothing to do with what the Commanders, the Eagles, or the Dallas Cowboys do. So I just want to see my team on the up and up. Appreciate you supporting real late at the end of the stream here. My dog, McGinnis. Like I said, hit me up when you in town, man, so we can link up. That'll be definitely awesome, bro. Let me see. We done here? Just making sure we all good. I think we good, man. Beard. Any last words for the people before we get up out of here, bro?
Nah, man, just big shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate all the love and all the support. You guys have been absolutely awesome. This has been a ton of fun. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at TimWalkOnWater2, at Awthentik, and follow me on the Blue Sky. If you can't find me on the Blue Sky, hit me on Twitter. I'll link you up to the Blue Sky.
The user handle.
I don't even remember my user handle yet. But it's eerily similar. There's some things going on there. It's quite interesting. But big shout out to everybody. Enjoy the game. We'll be back Sunday morning, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the parlay, which should be fun because we get Sunday and it's just like literal red zone. No Washington, no Giants.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be. That's gonna be.
We can literally soak in like hardcore fantasy football action.
That's gonna be fire. Yeah. That's definitely gonna be fire, and no NFC East game or anything to pay attention to. That's gonna be definitely fire. I see K Forum the Great says, "I just don't want the Deion circus." I want that shit. I want the sidelines to be interesting. I want the press conference to be. Oh, man, Shador said something crazy, and Deion came up to the podium. I want all of that.
Smacked him in the back of the head.
I want the fiasco. I want to see Deion Sanders throwing hands with Joe Shane. I want it all, bro. I'm definitely here for the circus.
If Deion Sanders is coming, Joe Shane's not going to be here.
Maybe. We'll see. Joe Shane is going to be forced to draft a quarterback this year, and if Shador Sanders is the only guy there, let's say Cam Ward goes off the board and they don't choose Shador Sanders.
Joe Shane's not making a pick for the Giants in 2025.
Oh, you think he out of here?
I think he's gone.
That's how we're going to leave y'all. Y'all know what it is, man. Keep raising that bar. Keep living those dreams because the universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound, and a life without dreams is a life in black and white. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Thursday afternoon with this huge matchup. Rest in peace to the podcast GOAT, Combat Jack. That's a motherfucking raptor beard. We'll catch y'all, man. Good luck to them Commanders. Good luck to them Philadelphia Eagles, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Spike don't care.